Hi, I'm Chris Broski, half of Barker and Broski, and one of my major duties in this partnership is to compose the music. It's something I really enjoy. I've studied music composition since high school. I've music theory at college level, so that I tend to overdo it a little, maybe more than is really necessary in an acoustic duo. But hey, I ain't getting paid for this, so I'm going to do what I want. One of those pieces I'd like to talk about is the Dystopian Waltz. Now, when Mike brings his lyrics to me, it's always something interesting. It's always unique. It's not the same stuff every time. And it's fun because I can write something unique. But often they suggest certain music, and there's no better example than this. There are musical terms right in the title. The Dystopian Waltz. Well, it's a waltz. It's going to have to be in 3/4. That's a no-brainer. And it's dystopian. So it's going to have to be a little disturbing as well. In the lyrics, there's a lot of talk about the revolutionaries are referred to as cowboys. So my first idea when I did this was to make it a cowboy song. When I was a kid, I had a vinyl record of cowboy songs, and I listened to it a lot, and then had a lot of the old classics, Red River Valley, I remember, Old El Paso, and these are nice little cowboy tunes. And cowboy songs are very simple. When you are done with a very long and hard day punching dogies, and you're sitting around the campfire getting ready for bed, you're not going to play free form jazz or Stravinsky. You want something simple and familiar and easy to play. And the most simple and familiar is just some nice major chords, the C chord. There's a little cowboy. It doesn't get much simpler than that. I also wrote a little melody for it, and again, about the simplest melody I could think of. It is just stepwise down and up the major scale, like so. Now, this is where I overdo it. The trick is playing them together. And if you are a guitarist and you want to try this out, please go ahead. It took me a lot of practice to be able to play it on stage without too much stress. So here goes. So that's the basics of that. It's the intro. That's going to repeat itself later on before the second verse. Now, for the verse, I also kept it very simple. Same kind of thing, C and G. I start to slide things off the rails a little bit. I want the song to get more and more dissonant as we go along. Maybe without even noticing it, things are going wrong. So, for example, in the verse, C and G7, these are cowboy chords. If you go to learn guitar and you want to learn how to play around the campfire, those are going to be the first two chords that you'll learn. But I'm voicing the G7 a little different in this. Normally, the 7 is you play as an F on the first fret of the high E string. Well, I'm going to bring it down and play it on the third fret of the D string. And it's going to there's that close harmony right in there that's kind of dissonant. It's still a G7, not doing anything weird, but I'm voicing it so it's a little harsher. Okay, and and then A minor, E minor, pretty basic stuff. So the intro and the verse, pretty much standard cowboy campfire sing-along chords. A little hint that it isn't exactly right. Now the chorus, we're going to get a little weirder. It's still major chords, so there's nothing strange about that, but they're not going to come in the normal places, which would be 1, 4, and 5. We're still in C, but the first chord is an A major, which you may know is not in the C major scale. D, okay, that's normal. B7, all right, that's unexpected. Back to the C. So yeah, it doesn't make... Why? It doesn't make sense. Well, it does sort of make sense if you can think of it having an ascending chromatic melody line, which is... And then that sort of ties it together. So we're not just jumping around random chords. There is some logic there. Now, when I voice these chords, I'm doing it so that we can hear that ascending melody. So unlike the regular just open A, I'm going to play the C sharp on the 4th fret of the A string, up to the D, up to the E flat, up to the E, and then I'm going to slide, we end on the C there, I'm going to slide that C up to the C sharp. So there's always this upward movement like a barber pole, even though we're just repeating the same chords over and over again. And then it resolves on the E. Kind of makes sense. There's a B7. But unexpected. This is not the revolution you were expecting. Things have gone wrong. Now we're going to get to the instrumental portion where things really start to get even more dissonant. Now, I'm not ready to go full tritones. Arguably the most dissonant interval is called a tritone or a diminished fifth, augmented fourth. These two notes were not meant to go together, and I'm going to put them together eventually, but we're going to ease into it a little more. So the song is in C major, clearly the most simple and happy of all keys, but I'm going to knock that out of whack a little. I'm going to use the C augmented chord. There's only one note difference. It's got the C, it's got the major third, but instead of the perfect fifth, we're going to do an augmented fifth. So C major, C augmented. Not quite right, not horribly dissonant, but definitely not what we want. And the first part of the instrumental is going to rely heavily on these augmented chords to give you an unsettling sense. So the first chord of the instrumental is a D augmented with a C bass. And I'm using the same picking pattern. I'm trying to keep as much of the song the same as before. We're just knocking a little something out of whack. So like the intro, there's that 3/4 time rhythmic picking pattern underneath, and there's a very simple melody up top, the F sharp and the E. Now we're going to go to the E flat augmented, which is not where you're expecting to go in the major scale or the whole tone scale or in any sense of the word. It's out of the blue. It is going to be a little shocking. And I'm playing this on the 6th fret of the A string with the open E and B strings. And the melody is up here, B and A, played on the 7th and 5th fret of the high E string. More complicated melody there. It's nice having open strings because then I can move up and down the neck and get a little break. Now we're going to start using, I don't even know what these chords are, but I've heard Debussy use them. It's kind of it's a perfect fifth and another perfect fifth above that, but a half step down. So what you get is a major 7. That's just a nice major 7 chord, no third. And then you add in this diminished fifth. 2 really nice ways to play it. An F, 3rd fret of the D string, 2nd fret of the G string is an A, open E and B. And the other nice way to play it is just on the 2nd fret of the E and B string, playing the top 4. And it is unsettling, but still there's the major 7 in there, and it kind of keeps that tritone, the diminished fifth, from feeling, I don't want this to be a metal song. It's not like, it's just supposed to be unsettling, but still harken back to a calm and relaxing cowboy song, even though by this time we're way out in the nether. So what I'm going to do here, this is a F major 7, and we're just going to lift up our finger and have that B ring. On a C, again with the flatted fifth, C major 7, augmented 4, whatever you want to call it. There's no real logical, there's no sense to this. We're just screwing up a perfectly fine major 7 chord. But at this point, we're playing this chord. It almost sounds, it's like a relief. It sounds somewhat consonant again. Look at that, we're right back to the very nice and consonant beginning. So that's, we went way off the rails, but then we brought it back. You don't want your listener to have to endure that too much. We've gone on a little journey into places that man was not meant to go. But it's okay, we brought it back now. That's all the pieces to the song. We do another verse and it does the exact same thing. A very simple verse, major chords, but odd major chords, chorus, and then back to the instrumental where we go augmented to this diminished fifth, major 7 kind of chords. And I guess I wanted to talk about this because this was one of the more challenging songs, and I ended up doing what I wanted to do. That's not always a good thing. Sometimes my best songs are nothing like I wanted, and that's what makes them good. Sometimes what I want is stupid. But this actually worked. It is not a huge... Normal people aren't a big fan of this song, but musicians always seem to notice it. They think it's cool, so I thought it would be appropriate to talk about. If this was interesting, let me know, and I'd love to talk more about composition on the guitar for pop or classical. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what you think.